evening and welcome to Meticulous Moments. My name is Juanita Kapp. You can reach me at meticulousmacarons@gmail.com or find me on LinkedIn. Since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the globe, I've had the wonderful privilege to meet a wide array of fantastic individuals. These individuals have truly touched my life in so many positive ways. Amongst this group of people, there are authors, public speakers, life coaches, poets, leaders, and visionaries. They are the unsung heroes of our time. Therefore, I decided to start the Meticulous Moments movement out of a sense of my gratitude. It is my way of giving back to the community. Let us share and reshare their stories in an effort to build a better society. Good day everyone, Juanita Kapp here. Welcome to Meticulous Moments, where we facilitate community upliftment through leadership development. And today we have the wonderful privilege of spending time with the amazing Shihan Deanna. A little bit more about Deanna. Deanna began training in the martial arts in 1977. It was a gift from her mother for her 12th birthday. ShihanDeannaEBivins made history twice, becoming the first woman to earn the rank of 6th degree black belt in 2005 to 2016, and again by becoming the first woman to attain a 7th degree black belt in the history of Red Dragon Karate, earning her the title of Shihan. She is one of only few women throughout the world to attain a 7th degree black belt. She is a true pioneer in the world of martial arts with 45 years of experience. She understands what it means to be disciplined, have perseverance and dedication, and learned many priceless lessons throughout her astounding career. A charismatic and positive person, she stands as an example of the confidence that martial arts help instill. Creative and artistic, she demonstrates a colorful approach to teaching and group demonstrations. In an area dominated by men, she has shown that gender is not a factor when it comes to skill or quality. As a young woman, she found in Red Dragon a way to push herself and empower others to push barriers. Traveling around the world competing, she established herself as an expert in the competition circuit. Her non-judgmental approach to teaching allows students to grow and develop at their own pace in a safe and friendly environment. Experienced working with students that are a part of her training find that they have joined an extended team that is filled with support. And it is clear to see from the loyalty of her students throughout her career how she has touched their lives and the gift that she has shared with them. It was such a wonderful time talking with Deanna around the topic of leadership. She is such a vibrant and yes, colorful person, and this is one interview that you are going to enjoy extensively. I would like to invite you to watch this with us and just see Deanna's views on leadership. With that proven track record, we are in good leadership hands this evening. And with that, we would like to say welcome to our special guest, Shihan DeannaEBivins. Good evening, Meticulous Moments. How are you? We are so happy. We are so happy to have Shihan DeannaEBivins with us. Good evening, Shihan. How are you?
Yes, I am rock and rolling. I'm in, where am I at? USA, Dana Point, California.
I love it. I love it. And I love your attire. It is a beautiful red key. Thank you so much for being on the show this evening. It's such a blessing.
Grateful to be here. Thank you for what you do. And I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Shihan Deanna. Well, I know you. I've been on some CLA calls with you. We've talked a little bit on Messenger. You are just an amazing person with a wonderful personality. Would you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name known all over the world, and I made history for this for Women Power. So it's important for the audience to understand this. And that is Shihan DeannaEBivins. And the name Shihan is very rare. It's normally a man's name. I grew up, the typical name that people understand is Sensei. We can go over that more later. People understand that name. But Shihan is normally a man's name, so to speak. But when my master was honoring me with the name, the joke with him later as I got older, because you couldn't do this when you're younger, is I'm like, Shihan. He's like, oh, smack. Anyways, like, it's your title now. So thank you.
I love that. I love that. And I love to see women empowered, and I love to see how women excel. So you are such a wonderful, example to the rest of us. I also love martial arts. I do martial arts, and I really look up to you, everything that you've done across the globe for women and for the martial arts. Thank you so much. It's just wonderful. Your legacy lives on. We love that. We love that.
Thank you. My pleasure. And that's why I came to this earth. So I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. I wanted to ask, how long have you been doing martial arts, and which style do you practice?
Okay, so is it okay for me to go back a little bit how I got here?
Absolutely.
Okay. So it's actually a really special story, and the amazing woman behind me is my mother, and she's not around anymore. But she was known as Sensei Mom. So all my kids knew her, all the students knew her, the parents knew her, and everybody knows her around the world. They still see these pictures that come up. Anyways, my parents were awesome. I'm adopted, so that's really special. And people hear more of my story. They're like, oh my gosh. But anyways, back in those days, because I'm going to be 58 in a few weeks, that was a few years ago, and the martial arts wasn't out. And there was a show called Kung Fu, David Carradine. Very famous show back then, grasshopper, take the pebble out of my hand. And my daddy would come home and we would watch David Carradine and watch that show, Kung Fu. But I didn't understand. I was about 9 years old. And then fast forward, there started becoming commercials with Bruce Lee. Didn't know who he was. My parents were like, who's this guy? An Asian man that's on TV, right? And all of a sudden, the first movie's Enter the Dragon. So what happened is I was excited, and the humor with my parents was, okay, she can go see the movie. They didn't really know what it was, but the other movie playing with it was called, it's actually a true story. The other movie is called Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and if you look it up, it's actually a true story. And I'm from California, but my daddy was from Oklahoma, and then he shifted to Texas. So I'm also kind of a Southern girl in a humorous way. But anyways, my mother made it very clear, do not let your daughter see that movie. He's like, of course, honey, I wouldn't do that. And I don't understand. So every time I tell this story, and I've told it for years, people are like, oh my gosh. So I get to the movie, matinee. I'm looking forward to seeing Bruce Lee, wow, Enter the Dragon, first movie to come out. However, the first movie that came on was Enter the Dragon. And I'm sorry, the first movie that came on was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So all of a sudden, if you don't know the movie, and people can Google it, it was like buzzsaw. I'm running out the movie theater, screaming and hollering, like, oh my gosh. And my dad's like, oh my gosh. Anyways, finally the movie came on, Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon. It was awesome. I was like, yeah, go back home. I'm super excited to go, Mom, he was awesome. Bruce Lee rock. And my mom always joked around going, why do you take her to this movie? He's like, I don't know. She likes the sound effects. That was the joke. But what happened is when I went to bed that night, I went to sleep. In the middle of the night, I woke up screaming and hollering, and I was crying. And my mom's like, I don't know about this Bruce Lee guy. And go, Mommy, it was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And she's like, Mom. And it's like, oh my God. And so that was a humor to all my parents around the world. They're like, oh my God, that's hilarious. Fast forward, back in those days, Juanita, it wasn't called bullying. It was called picked on back in those days. And my parents, even though I love them and I still love them as pieces, even though they're not around, they ended up separating. So it's important for the audience to hear this. I've been through the divorce, again, being adopted, and that happened because I was daddy's girl. But my parents were very much got along. They loved each other still. But anyways, believe it or not, I'm an introvert. And a lot of people don't realize that big players, leadership people, a lot of them are introverts. All the ones that I've met, I've had people, you're an introvert? I go, yes, I am. Anyways, I was very shy, very quiet, stayed to myself. Mom could tell, but I was getting picked on after elementary school. That's a whole nother story because I've been to like 7, 8 different schools in 1 year. So people were like, what the what? And so I was getting picked on. So what happened is when my mom moved, I saw kids, Juanita, in karate uniforms, and they were white.
Yeah.
And I always make this very clear in the audience listening right now. I always share with everybody, and especially parents, make sure you're listening. Because my mom somehow, as we were driving by, she heard me say that would be cool, or I'd like to do that, or something. She heard something, I don't know.
Yes.
And for my 12th birthday, she surprised me with David Hardin's Taekwondo studio lessons.
My goodness.
No clue. Yeah.
Wow.
So to keep the story tight, because I share the story and parents are like, wow. So I go and I, start training, have no clue. My mom has no clue what's going on. I was there about a year. But while I was there, a company called Red Dragon Karate walked in.
Wow.
And I know these two instructors to this day. I'm not going to say their names right now, but I know these instructors. And back in those days, as the audience listening right now, back in those days, it was a man's, full-on man's game. It was a man's deal. There was no women. There were kids, but not many girls. And I know maybe some people are like, what does she mean? Look it up.
Yeah.
So I came in, the martial arts started exploding after Bruce Lee. So what happened, back in those days, karate schools would challenge other masters. And so this big fight broke out in my dojo, in my Taekwondo studio, which is Korean style. But I'll never forget, they were wearing red uniforms and I saw their names. So fast forward, that studio ended up closing down. We ended up moving, and then we moved. I see the name Red Dragon on a sign.
Wow.
And I'm like, Red Dragon. Mom's like, Chinese food, Japanese food? What is it? I go, no, Mom, it's a karate school. And she goes, hold on. We need to get situated first. We need to get moved in first, right? And then she took me down, true story. The master, which was Shihan Sensei Louis D. Casamassa, was in the front, or the front of the studio. My mom went up, pretty good looking lady. They had a fun conversation. Next thing you know, is let's see what you can do. And he tried to hit me, and I was like, ah. And next thing you know, my mom joined that. We joined that system. And so you asked me what style, Red Dragon Karate, and I'm going to make it clear to the audience, even though I'm not with them anymore, I was with them for 45 years. Since, started in 77, so I started with them in 78. So that's a lot of years. They've been around since 1965. Yes. So started with them, and so Red Dragon Karate is really unique because I was trained in 7 different disciplines.
Fantastic.
Japanese-based, Okinawan, Indonesian, Polynesian, Tibetan, Korean, okay, and then of course American. And there's more behind the story, but I was trained in multiple styles. So I also have a black belt in judo. I have a Chinese style. So when people hear this, they're like, wow, that's crazy. So that was the style that I'm in. And now my company, very important to understand, is called Elevate. Elevate self-defense, elevate your life, elevate your love, elevate your knowledge, right? So I shifted and pivoted. There you go.
Thank you for that phenomenal answer. I mean, you fit right in with Meticulous Moments. We also want to elevate, and it is just such a privilege, to hear your story. And I have actually watched that movie Chainsaw Massacre before, so I was just thinking to myself, I understand completely why you woke up at night crying. But your journey, is such an inspiration to us. And I want to ask you, who is your role model, or who was your role model growing up? Because you were in this male-dominated sport, so there must have been a lot of senseis and masters that were, kind of mentoring you. Your father was there. Who was your role model?
My role model, straight up, and everybody knows this, was my mom. She was my hero. She was my world. Literally, she traveled everywhere with me in the martial arts when she realized what was going on, because she had no clue what her daughter was doing. And don't get me wrong, my daddy was a role model too on the southern side. The southern side kept me humble because I was raised in California. But my daddy, when my parents divorced, he shifted to Texas. So Deanna went back and forth. And when people hear the story, they kind of laugh, like, you rode horses and rogue cattle? And I go, yeah. So it kept me humble. But my mom was my huge role model, Juanita, even though I have two amazing brothers. But she was my role model big time. Then after that, my role model was my instructors, but Bruce Lee became my role model because I loved Bruce Lee. And then Shannon Lee, before I forget, Shannon Lee, his daughter, opened my first karate school.
Wow.
She was at my first grand opening. Yeah. But my role models were my instructors. There was various ones, whether it was my master, and then later his son, Shihan Chris, took over because we were growing up together. We were in high school together. Yeah. And then, but then after that, we became very mutual because like, who's training who? You know, I got so good. Like, who's training who? And everybody joked around going, can't tell who taught who now. But very grateful. And now I have tons of role models in a whole different industry.
Yeah.
Things that are
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, I do martial arts with my children, and we do it together. We started in 2016. So I really share the fact that your mom was your role model, because I'm a single mother, and I'm the authority in our home, and we do karate together. So, you know, just to hear that, it warms my heart, because it's not a lot of the time that you would actually hear that. They normally call out male names as role models. So it's refreshing, to say the least. Now, you've mentioned that you are the owner and vice president at Red Dragon Karate. You know, I read up on your profile as well. So please tell us, where did your leadership journey start? What have you learned over the course of the last few years? Things that you want to highlight for us.
Okay. So being with Red Dragon for, you know, a lot of years, and I in my early years, my early 20s, it's very important for the audience to understand this. I ended up working for corporate, a very famous company that's still famous to this day. And I personally don't have any college background, but I always make it clear to people, be willing to learn, be open to learn. And because of that, and I was actually thinking about it earlier, but I'm not going to go into the whole details. The lady that hired me, she just loved my energy and she loved my attitude at 20 years of age. Right. Anyways, fast forward. Again, if you look the company up, they're still very well known. And I ended up at like 22 running the #1 station center in the nation out of 2,500 centers. And I opened over 20 locations all over California. It was nutrition and health, by the way. So it was a nutrition company, all health. And that got me to lose weight, because I had some weight challenges, and I still deal with weight issues. It's hard to believe. But I learned some education from them. And then I became the role model. I lost all this weight. Next thing you know, Deanna goes from this young girl to, you know, corporate suits. And then my instructor's watching me one evening. He's like, what are you doing all of a sudden? And I was sharing with him what was going on. So I'm making them when I had the last center, it was in Pasadena, California. Look it up. It's very famous, very city, a lot of money. And I was making them roughly lowball $250,000 to $300,000 a month. And pretty much ran it without owning it. And he's like, what the what? It's like, what are you doing, man? And then they kept approaching me to open a studio. And back in that time period, Juanita, girls didn't own a karate school. It just didn't happen back then. I was nervous. I'm making X amount of dollars at an early year. If I told people what I was making back then, they'd be like, oh my gosh, that would be a salary for somebody now. That would be nothing. Back then, that'd be like a lot. And then what happened is the corporate world changed back then. And I won't get into that. And so then I went to my instructor at, I think it was 27. And I'm like, all right, I'm ready. And then one of my clients cut me a check, said, here, they were totally willing to invest in me. And next thing you know, I opened my company in 1995, one of their first females to own a martial arts school. So from there, I just started scaling. Then I became a pro competitor, traveling the world as a world renowned, known in the industry. As a martial arts world champion. There's a tournament circuit called NASKA, very famous around the world, North American Sports Karate Association, the best of the best, elite from around the world compete on that circuit. And then I did that, and I opened my karate company, and then everything just started exploding. And they could see that. And they could see that I was learning all this. I learned this from corporate, and they could see how I understood a lot of different things. And then I started teaching all the owners. They're like, Deanna, will you teach them what you've learned in scripts and things like that, right? And it's been a huge honor. And then all of a sudden I became vice president At that time, there was like 25 locations. And it's because they saw that I had my personality. They loved that I can relate to guys and girls. And they can tell. And I helped catapult literally Red Dragon product. I helped. I was part of that industry. And then when I got promoted, about 4 or 5 years ago, when I got promoted to Shihan, that was a huge ordeal. It really was, because I go from nothing to this 7th degree black belt, and was the rank of my instructor when I first started with him. The highest you can go is 10 degrees, Juanita.
Yes.
So to get 7th degree and then he 10th degree, and then my instructor's son was, I was 7th at the time. He was 8th degree. I think he's 9th degree now. But huge honor. And, from that, I've just been able to be in other industries because people love what I do. So I've been in the corporate world. I still do things with the corporate world. We can talk about that in a minute. And then I've been in network marketing for years. So I've been in front of these major leadership gurus that are famous around the world. And grateful. But my martial arts career, my parents taught me to stay humble. The martial arts teaches that to you, especially now with the generation and what's happening with our world. I can't share it enough how bad you need to be doing something like that, in my opinion. And it keeps you focused, even though I am, but it keeps you focused in another way. And I've been fortunate to open multiple locations of martial arts schools for Red Dragon when I had my own, to let you know.
Phenomenal. And you mentioned something. You mentioned your personality. You mentioned your attitude and your energy. And I can testify from my personal experience from conversing with you and engaging with you, it is absolutely something that people are drawn to. So I can just imagine in my mind's eye, I can see how everything that you work with, people that you elevate, they are just successful and they explode and your business keeps scaling, because really people want that upliftment. People want that push in the right direction. And you just have this wonderful outlook on life. I mean, when I engage with you, you're always in a friendly mood. You're always uplifting. And I think that is what people are drawn to. And I commend you on that, because, not a lot of people have that inner energy and that inner drive. So thank you for sharing that with the world. You mentioned that you are competing in the arts. You were competing in the martial arts. Tell us, is there a tournament that you can think back on that was like something that stuck in your mind, and what happened?
I'll say it quickly. There's about 2 or 3. And I've got to make sure I let the audience hear this. There's one called the U.S. Open. It's out of Florida. It's in a famous tournament. ESPN spotlighted everything. So I was on various TV shows, which was amazing. And I won that championship there. And then from there, I also won the championship. I became the Canadian world champion. And I tell that to people because I've got a lot of Canadian friends. So that was huge in Canada. And then what happened is I retired. You always want to retire on top, like Michael Jordan. You want to end on the top note. So I stopped my career, because even my search was like, you've done freaking awesome. So I competed and traveled the world for almost 6-7 years. And my karate parents were totally cool with it. My partner helped me run the studio while I was traveling, because I would leave Thursday night or Friday, and then I'd come back on Sunday. And I traveled to good 20, 25 tournaments a year. True story. And I was on the best of the best leagues. Team Paul Mitchell, John Paul DiGiurio, very well known and very famous. And I was part of out there competing, and people saw that. They're like, there she is. There's the Red Dragon girl. And they knew who I was. But fast forward, I won, very grateful, 3 national titles, 2 world titles. And then I became the #1 world champion at the Australian Open in Australia. Fast forward, my point to you about a tournament is I retired. But then I came out of retirement at 45 for the fun of it. So a tournament called Compete Nationals, one of my instructor friends owns it. It's out here in California. It's a big tournament, that like 4,000 competitors from all over the world. And what happened is he's like, go for it. And you can do what's called non-NASKA, which is the NASKA circuit that I was on. And you can do NASKA. He's like, I'd go for it. Go for both divisions. You got nothing to lose. You still rock. And so what happened is those competitors recognized me, and they're like, oh my God, she's coming back. Because you have to be seeded. You have to get seated in a position. Once you start winning, trust me, to the audience, I have lost a bazillion times. You have to fail, John C. Maxwell, you have to fail forward to move forward. So I got to make it very clear to audience, any world champions out there in tennis, basketball, golf, all those people, all of us, no one knows what happened behind the scenes. So I lost numerous tournaments, Juanita, trust me. And when my instructors really started seeing me, she started to get really good. Now you got to focus and stay laser, right? And you get seated. So when I'd win, once I started winning, I was losing. I literally, my first tournament with my black belt, tournament, there was like 20 women and I took 20th place. And everybody's like, really? I go, yep, that was my first tournament. The girls didn't know who I was. They're like, who's this girl? Yeah. Pushed me off to the side. I was like, right? But then fast forward, they started seeing me traveling, like, oh, there she is, there she is. Mm-hmm. And those competitors that were winning, they're like, oh my God, here she comes again. And they could start seeing I was getting strong. They can start seeing, even the promoters were like, the coaches were like, you better watch it. She's gonna take over your position. And that's what happened. I took over all these positions with all these women, because mainly I was going against women, even though I fought against men growing up, trust me. And I competed against men also when I was growing up, and I would win them, trust me. They know that. But then what happened, fast forward, I ended up retiring on top. There was a big ceremony with NASKA. And then when I came out of retirement, I went into these divisions, so everybody recognized me. And they're like, oh my God, there she is. You're coming back? Just having fun. It's in my state. Thought I'd just come have fun. They're like, okay. Well, true story. I won both those divisions. And then I won what's called Grand Reserve. That's huge. And I won every division from 18 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, 50 to 59, and higher.
Wow.
I won them all. So after I was all done, they're like, well, you get Grand Reserve now, but you got to get on stage. I'm like, okay. And I went on stage like, God, I was known for the bow. So I was known for the 6 foot.
Yes, we also do the bow. Yeah.
Okay. Even though I'm trained in 15 different weapons, that became my famous weapon. My first weapon was nunchucks because of Bruce Lee. And my instructor challenged me to do the bow. So I became the bow queen and I knocked it out of the ballpark. So in that tournament at the end of my career, just for fun, I took all the 2 divisions and I won Grand Reserve. And everybody's like, are you coming back? And I'm like, no, I just did this for fun. They're like, great, you just messed up my seed, because they were all seeded. And they're like, they weren't mad at me, but they're like, oh man, but you're not competing, right? I go, no. Are you sure? I go, no, I'm good. They're like, okay, hallelujah. But now that I have a new hip, because I had that hip surgery, so I have a bionic hip, I'm thinking about coming back out for the fun of it.
Oh, that would be lovely. That would be lovely. Yeah, we do also the bow at the dojo and the sai. We actually had a weapons demonstration yesterday. I went and did the 2 demonstrations, and then we also do the nunchucks. But we don't do 15 of those. We only do 3. So you'll have to teach me a bit more about the other 12.
Yeah, so it's a very huge honor, and we're the only system that's trained in that many weapons. Wow. Like straight up. There's no system that's trained in that many weapons. A lot of systems through the years started getting Americanized.
Yes.
That's a whole other story. But we were the ones. Like everybody's like, you know all those weapons? I go, yep. I can spin them and toss them and flip them and do everything. Yeah.
Amazing. I always say, they should make karate a part of the school regimen. It should be a subject in school. It should be a sport, because it's going to teach children discipline. It's going to teach them how to construct themselves, how to grow, how to just excel and believe in themselves. The self-confidence. It also teaches you how to work under pressure, because when you're out there competing, there is a certain level of pressure. We call it showtime when we prepare for our nationals, which is coming up now on 7, 8 and 9 October. So we do showtime in class, and then everybody's watching and you get critiqued on your kata and your kumite. But you know all about that, but it's a good pressure. It's not a negative pressure.
No, it depends on how you handle it. I always share with parents, do not pressure your kids. I always taught them the value of it, and I explained the importance of it. So I came from a different perspective. There is instructors out there, to keep it simple, that do things where they're pushing the wrong way. So I always talk about encouragement. And then I would explain to the students why it was so important for them to get out there and give it a shot again. And then those young girls, especially my girls, besides my boys, because all my guys and girls were very respectful of me. All my students, the men that I taught, they realized, like, don't mess with this lady. This lady she rocks. So I can say from the bottom of my heart, most of my world of friends and men were very respectful to me. I focus on the positive because they realized, especially now, what I had to put up with, what I had to deal with, what I had to go through to get here. Now in high schools, that's all I'm going to say. It's a little too kickback, but it's all good. But again, I encourage the kids, and all those kids became champions on their own. They all became black belts. There's only so many black belts in the world. It's only 5% that go to black belts. So I had the highest amount of black belts in my career. It's never been broken, ever.
Phenomenal. Wow.
My studio, I had over 23 promotions of third-degree black belts, second-degree black belts, and first-degree black belts. And no one, even my instructor, has never been able to beat that number, ever.
Wonderful, wonderful legacy that you have. I mean, all those students just getting stronger, loving the martial arts, watching how it seeps through to their lives. You made them champions. Here you are. You look back over the years. It has been a battle, especially as a female, in a male-driven sport, but you made it and you showed them how it's done. And absolutely, I agree. You do rock.
Well, thank you. Again, I'm not here to impress anybody, to impress upon you what it takes, but you've got to put, and I'm going with my own bumps right now. So I've got to make that very clear. Tony Robbins, one of my first coaches, I was coached by his coaching team. He was my first coaches, and I've been following him since I was 20. But Tony Robbins' philosophy is life's either happening to you or for you. And I'll never forget hearing that. And someone's like, what do you mean? I go, most people complain and go, I can't believe this is happening to me. And when I say it, they're like, you know what, you're right. He nailed it when he put that quote. And then I always tell people, no, life's happening for me. What do you mean? It's happening for me. It's happening for a reason. Either I've got to wake up or I'm going to continue to do my own failing forward, which I'm still failing forward. It's okay. It's all good. You shift, life changes. It is what it is. But to me, personal growth is key. Personal growth is key.
Absolutely, Shihan Deanna. We roll with the punches. We roll with the punches, we learn, we excel, we grow, and that is the beauty of life. And I wanted to ask you, how has martial arts, I mean, you've raised up so many black belts, you've worked in so many people's lives, from young ones to older people. How has martial arts, in your opinion, honed your skills, your leadership skills?
Well, that's just it. It's put me in front of a major audience, and I'm very grateful. I've done school talks all over California. And even though they're children, there was adults there too. So I would do talks in front of literally thousands of kids all day long. From 9 a.m, they would shift them in. And then the principals would see me, the teachers would see me. They're like, wow, man, I learned from you. And then just in my studio, because I had celebrities I taught Indian tribes, and then they could just tell.
Oh my goodness.
And then being in network marketing, that gave me another level of leadership because of me being around leaders that are better than me. Because my instructor could see I was changing. He's like, what are you doing all of a sudden? Like, where are you getting this wording from? And true story, we did a lot of instructor colleges. We did quite a few. We could go to different cities out here in California, down by the beach, Palm Springs. And I'll never forget, I had like 40 some kids in my team and adults. And I go, you need to listen up. John C. Maxwell. It's all about failing forward. And they're like, what? And then when they went to the next class, they're like, Shihan said it's all about failing forward. And my instructor was like, excuse me? And then he comes over to watch me, and I can see him watching me. And long story short, the book, look it up, Failing Forward.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned. So now I've been coaching with my karate school, of course, and then just coaching in general for years, and I still am. I'm coaching people with my other company that I own. Besides Elevate, I own a health company called Trinot. We can talk about that in a minute. And then I work for another company that's a marketing company, and I'm their actually celebrity ambassador for the martial arts world. Some stuff they're putting together for me. That company's called Referite, but my focus is Elevate Self-Defense. and then turn on, and then reference.
Thank you so much for that sharing. We appreciate it absolutely. And, we touched a little bit on it earlier when we discussed the children. But I would like to know, why would you recommend, personally from your experience, why would you recommend parents to let their children start martial arts classes in the first place?
Oh, huge. And unfortunately, regardless of what's happened with the world, because it doesn't matter what world we're in time, things change. Yeah. But unfortunately, the world doesn't understand that, especially the different generation, because of technology and what have you. And again, I'm fine with technology. There's a place for it, but but there's things from that don't help. And that, because of that causes depression. So the depression, if people Google depression and anxiety and stress with teenagers and even little kids, it is sad. Yes. Juanita, yes. It's really, really bad. And so the martial arts at least lets that child or that teenager especially get in front of other people and be able to engage and interact and then learn. So I had some bullies that joined my karate school, and they turned around not being a bully anymore.
Wonderful.
Because there's so much bullying going on out there, whether it's on social media, which is tons, yes. And adults get bullied too. But kids are getting bullied really, really bad right now, like huge. And so my mom, and I make it very clear, my mom didn't have the money back in the day. I didn't understand. She never told me that. She told me later. She's a single mom. All the single moms out there. My mom was a single mommy. My mom worked 3 jobs. It wasn't to keep me in karate. That's just what she had to do to survive back then, when I tell people. And then my mom made a big impression. She took over a school district as one of the top school cafeteria managers, and she ran all these schools. But anyways, fast forward, if it wasn't for my mom understanding, I'm going to invest in my daughter, not understanding, she paid for lessons that she didn't have the money for. So I make it very clear to parents, invest in your child, figure it out. Everything's figure outable. That's Maria Farley. So all my parents, the few that came in going, I don't know, my money's tight. No, you're gonna make it happen. So and so my mom did, and my mom is so grateful she did. I literally still have the receipts on what my mom paid back in those days. Yeah. So right now, martial arts schools around the world, and I don't care what industry it is, it comes down to the instructor. Yes. Very important that the parents looks at the instructor, whether it's male or female, I don't care, but looks at their background, their bio, how long they've been doing this. That's important. Yeah. Very, very important. Absolutely. But it's huge right now, Juanita. It's needed more than ever for health. Kids are overweight right now. I was at a tournament in the beginning of 2022. I went to the first tournament out here, and I couldn't believe everybody's weight. And I own a health company, and it's exploding. Turn on is exploding right now because people's health issues are horrible. Yes. That's a whole other conversation. But I saw students of mine, I saw kids like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So you've got that going on because kids are on electronics all day long. So it's getting the parents to go, okay, here we go, little Judy, here we go. You need to go to class tonight. And parents got to there's a different approach now because kids are like, nah, I don't want to go because they want to stay on their phones all day. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So important. No, I agree with you completely, Shihan Deanna. In 2016, because I've been in the full-time ministry all these years, I was so burnt out and I was so tired, and I didn't really make time for sport or anything else. And then I heard about the local dojo, and I decided to enroll my son. And after seeing the transformation, just within, I think it was about 2 months in him, I decided, well, that might be something that's good for me as well. So I told my daughter, let's also go. And we started to do karate. And this year, he was sitting here and he was saying, Mom, I'm turning 11 soon. And we were talking about the nationals that are coming up. And he was saying, when did I start? I said, no, we started in 2016, but you started before we started, about a month or 2. And then I looked at him and I said, do you realize you've been doing karate more than half your life? And we started laughing. Yes.
But you know, the positive effect it had on us. Absolutely, I resonate with everything that you've said. Mentally sharp, focused, healthy, balanced, have a drive for life. My kids are not stuck with electronic devices the whole day. It is just phenomenal. And I hope the audience really takes what Shihan Deanna says to heart. Take your children to martial arts schools. It's going to change their lives for the better. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah.
So now you are a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, you're a leading lady in society. Please tell the audience or explain to the audience which projects you are busy with and how we can become involved.
Right on. Okay. So again, now my company is Elevate Self-Defense. So the word elevate allows me to incorporate, again, elevate your defense, elevate your awareness, right? Elevate your health, elevate your love, right? So I'm able to incorporate it in so many things. So I've worked for corporations for years, to let you know, real estate firms, corporations, big corporations that you would know their names. And while my martial arts school was being ran, my academy, I would go to these events, and the owners or the business company or the owners of these companies loved it. Yeah. And I know how to do a lot of team building activities. So I will do team building activities at the events, because we did this in our instructor colleges. And I would literally have HR go, "Where did you learn this?" And I go, "Through our karate school," because we were very laser with leadership. My organization, my instructor, we were the bomb at that. Like, we were the best. You can't touch it. If he listened to this right now, he would say she's right. And he knows I was part of that. So corporations are huge. Then mother and daughter classes, huge. Yeah. Again, amazing woman right here. Look at that picture.
I love it. Beautiful, beautiful. Priceless.
It is. And I have a poster that says, "I'm the woman," something like, "I'm the woman who I am because of a strong woman that raised me." So when I do mother and daughters events, oh my God, it brings the girls together, especially the teenage girls. I was always respectful to my mother, always, and my dad, because that different generation. But there are, things that kids are saying. I'm like, you don't have to talk to your parent like that. So that is huge for me to get it back after my hip surgery. I've had to kind of keep it on the down low, so people are hearing about it now. And everything is a free event. The corporate events, no, they know the corporate events, they have to pay me. So they will definitely pay me everything I'm worth. I've worked with country clubs, so celebrities out here, some major country clubs that are very famous, that I work with celebrities. I'm still working with some of them. They know me. They're like, "She is the girl." It's like, she's the go-to, because no one could get into these events. No one could get into these country clubs. Even my instructor couldn't. And it was because of my background, and I knew some certain people in the celebrity industry. They recognized me and they got my foot in the door. And then once they got my foot in the door, then these big high-power women, they made it very clear, we don't care how much money we make. High-power women and high-power men companies get ransom notes sent to them, because I work with John Paul DeJure, the owner of Paul Mitchell. Hello. Bob Wall was famous, of O'Hare. He's passed recently, but he was in Enter the Dragon. So this is true, straight up. Yes. So my Elevate Self-Defense company right now, I'm wanting to bring that back so the audience can hear free events for the first ones, for anything, for seminar. But the corporate events, no. And the HR totally gets it because of my time to come in. And then the other thing that's exploding right now is my health company. It's called Trinot. Trinot is French, because I am French, is for change lives rapidly. Lovely. And these men are awesome. And then this beautiful couple here is literally sought after all over the world. They're my coaches now too, along with, I got to show this because this is all about power women. So in network marketing, only 70% of women run it. So this beautiful couple here, Jennifer and Darren Dowd, are my good friends, along with their best friends, Mindy and Jeremy Diebel. And they're coaching me right now. And they're being coached by Elena Cardone. That's all I'm going to say.
Amazing.
So, what makes us special is our products are impactful. And they're all plant, gluten-free, GMO. And so my friends and loved ones and parents, who do you know, Juanita, with depression, anxiety, like we talked about, and stress? Who do you know with gut issues? Who do you know with gluten and dairy issues or acid reflux? Who do you know with, Parkinson's or autism? I've worked with autism for years. Who do you know that has diabetes? Who do you know has high blood pressure? I had someone go, are you kidding me? Like my whole family.
Exactly. There's so many people out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we've made history literally around the world, and especially with what happened to our world with a 1,500% growth. True story. It's not about the money. People are willing to make a change because your health is your wealth. You don't have your health, you have nothing. And then there's a way to make extra abundance, because money doesn't buy happiness, but money buys options.
Yes.
It buys the house you live in. It buys the car you drive. It buys the private schools your kids go to. And someone's like, wow, where did you learn all this? Network marketing at its finest. And I work with the best people around the world. And we just launched the UK. Super stoked. Major expansion in Canada. Super stoked. Yeah. And our products are literally impactful. They changed my world with things that I had going on with me, with gut issues because of traveling the world. No one didn't understand that. My hip surgery, straight up. So my Elevate Self-Defense, my Turn On, my health company, again, changing lives. That's our motto. And I do free health talks, Juanita. They're free. I do free talks. I educate people, and then people go, cool, I want to be part of your team. I want my family part of the team. I can use extra money right now. Or cool, I like this. I'd like to try your products first. Everything's golden, then I'm in. And that's what will happen. They come back and go, I'm in. Can we get this thing going? True story. So education, major education.
Wonderful. You are busy with so much community upliftment, so many projects. You want to help people. Your heart is in the right place. You really have a heart-centered leadership style. And I know that you are extremely busy, but what I love about you is you make time. Like if there is something that you've committed to, you make the time. And that comes back to me, to the discipline of martial arts, but also to your leadership style and the kind of person that you are. And that's why we love, following you on social media, and we want to support you and cheer you on with all your projects. And again, when you speak of your projects, Shihan Deanna, your face just lights up. And that's so lovely to see that you love what you do.
And that's important. And to keep it simple, because the company saw me and they saw my resume and my bio, they're like, this bio is ridiculous. So this other company brought me in. It's called Referizer. It's a funky name. But there happened to be a marketing company that's known all over the world. Been around for 10 years. The main leader, Andre, is from Serbia. So I have a whole Serbia team that's working with me. And then my other leader friend, Dave, is out of Michigan. And then they brought me in because they're like, oh my God, lady, you're ridiculous. And so I'm their celebrity ambassador for marketing for martial arts first, fitness companies first, and then beauty and health. And everything blends, Juanita, with what I do. Elevate self-defense, right? Awareness, self-defense, protect yourself, right? Yeah. And then health, turn on, change lives, impactful products. And we have wealth education also. That's huge, 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 because we're a financial education company first. And then my marketing company, Referizer, is marketing companies all over the world, literally. And they've brought me in to help market those companies. And I love it. It's public relations, what it's about.
Absolutely. And self-defense is so important. You mentioned that. And I just want to add, that it is very important, especially for women, to be able to defend themselves, because we find ourselves in personal situations, in the beginning, that we don't know how to do that. And karate really, and martial arts, any type of martial arts really can be applied to self-defense. And it is part of your, also health is your wealth, because if you can't protect yourself, how will you live a happy and fulfilled life? So martial arts, I agree with you. And I see that in your life. It spreads out in every arena. Now, I know you are very busy, you have a very busy schedule. And I want to ask you, how do you manage work-life balance? How do you facilitate that? Because, there's only so many hours in the day.
Right. One of my leaders, what do I have in here somewhere? Here it is. One of my leaders, she makes it very clear. 7 must-dos to get what you want in life. And I'll read them real quickly. So the first one would be hungry. Do you want What do you want bad enough? Discipline, whatever it takes. Drop your excuses and become accountable. The moment you take responsibility for everything in your life is the same moment you claim your power to change. Again, try not to change lives, and you elevate your life. Believe, win in your mind first. Have a clear vision of what your future looks like. Get focused. How? When? Be specific. Be specific. Yeah. And make a game plan. Look at the big goals. Identify everything it will take to get there. Commit to a daily method of operations. Huge, that I've been doing for years with them. Put in daily schedules when you're going to work, when you're going to do stuff. You look at my calendar right now. Yeehaw! This was September. Still got more to do. Okay. Last one, every day, Grant Cardone, Medieval, 10X action with conviction. I love it. I changed a direction a few years ago because Grant Cardone, as I started following him about 4 or 5 years ago, said, say yes and figure it out later. So I did. I said yes to something, and someone's like, what are you doing? I'm like, that's all I'm going to tell you. And then have a whatever it takes attitude. Be willing to think outside the box. When you run into problems, be solution orientated. What else is possible? You with me? And I have learned this from them, and I have what's called I use the time clock. We talk about this more later to coach people. And Darren Hardy taught us this. And the time clock is you put a timer. People waste time because they think they're doing certain things, and the time clock basically solidifies what you're doing. Don't get me wrong, I'm far from perfect. I'm having to rewrite my schedule right now. I'm having to actually do new methods of operations. And regardless of being I'm single, I've been doing this forever when I was running my companies with employees and staff, team and all that good stuff. And people ask me all the time, whether they have family or children. She has four little kids, but they had 4 kids at the time when they were going into this industry, network marketing. True story. Yeah. And she made it very clear, you want it bad enough, you got to figure it out. That's Tony Robbins 101. That's all of these leaders. They all had to share. All of them did. So it's necessary. Later step. Yeah. And it's necessary. Very clear to people. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I just wanted to say it's necessary. We have to stay hungry.
You do, and people need to understand right now. Your audience needs to understand. Jim Rohn. In order for things to change, you need to change, and everything around you will change instead of pointing fingers. And that's what a lot of people lately have been doing. So it's up, if it's meant, and Mrs. Diebel, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Persist until it exists. Right. Yeah. And again, we were on an event with her recently, and I'm going through my own tough time right now because I'm shifting, I'm changing things. And it's scary. We're all going through different things right now. No one is in this special world right now, but there's so much opportunity, Juanita. Yeah. With our Connectors Leader Academy, Jose Asaro, with this, there's so much opportunity to help people. It's so important to step back and go, okay, how am I going to do this? It's all figure outable. It's up to you. And I'm telling you right now, personal growth is key. If I had not had the personal growth with things that I've been through before this, this thing that happened to our world, I would not be where I'm at today. The only reason why people are at where they're at, and trust me, John Paul DeJure, when I worked with him, he was homeless. Trust me, I've had my own things happen to me. And you either fight, get back up. Yes. Or the homeless is huge right now. Huge around the world because people have given up. You know what I mean? And I've worked for homeless shelters to let you know. I've worked with women battered shelters to let you know. That's a whole other story. But it's up to you. You want it bad enough. No excuses. I've had people go, well, I can't do that. I'm like, you just said can't. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I don't say can't. Very rarely hear me say can't. I always say it's figured out. It's a challenge. I never say the word problem either. My students do, don't say problem. Houston, we have a problem. I always say we have a challenge, Juanita. And it relieves people to go, oh, we have a challenge? Yeah, we have a challenge. And someone goes, that's really cool. I go, yeah, when you say problem, everybody panics. Yeah. The marketing, the marketing company that I'm with, the owners love, even though they're being coached by Tony Robbins, Andre's been at events with Tony recently. Literally at his events, hugging Tony, going, what up? But they love me because they're like, you're bringing so much value. Yeah, absolutely. To our team in Serbia, even though these kids rock, they're probably like early 20s to their mid 30s. And they're like, oh, Shihan's on. Well, she's on our Zoom right now. Like last night, I was on a Zoom with them. So Turn On has me coaching people. The marketing company, I think I'm coaching them. And it's just from experience. And it's my wording. I'm nobody special. I'm just special at what I do. And it's not a me thing. It's a team thing. You and I right now, spreading the love, elevating the love, elevating people's knowledge, what you do to help people. Huge. And woman empowerment right now, that's a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to be part of your team.
Right. 70% of women run network marketing.
I love it. Go girls. Oos. It's so wonderful to spend time with you, and you are leading through your example, and you are always busy with people. Like last night you were on a Zoom, this evening you are on a podcast. You're going to train more people. You're going through coaching yourself. Your wording that you use, it just inspires people, empowers them. What is your favorite leadership quote and why? I'm sure there are many.
There is, and I really kind of said them all. But because I really have. But Tony Robbins didn't say this when I first started listening to him, but I love Tony Robbins' deal. Is life happening to you or for you? You have to figure it out. Jim Rohn, in order for things to change, you have to change, right? And then Mindy, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. One of my other leader friends, Mr. Byron Nelson, who is very famous, works with Les Brown and all those good people. I learned something from him and a lot of leadership in network marketing. This is really important for the audience to hear. The most expensive thing you can own is a closed mind. I'll never forget when I heard that a few years ago at a network marketing event. I think it was in Charlotte or something, like 20,000 people. I'm like, what did he say? I'm like, and they said it again. Everybody in the audience was like, what? And this was told to us like 10 years ago. Actually, he was on stage. I was at a leadership in Palm Springs. And I'll never forget, he said it. Everybody was like, what did he say? Because we all had our notebooks in hand. And he said it again. The most expensive thing you can own is a closed mind. And I say that now, and all people go, can you say that again, please? I'm writing that down. And it's true. Yeah. It's true. It really is. Recently, I heard a cute one from Richard Branson. Screw it. Just do it.
I love that.
I love it. Right? Again, Grant Cardone, the 10X rule. You better 10X everything, right? That's what many people in the Dows are teaching me. They're like, Deanna, it's 10X, man. We've all been through our bumps. I've had friends that have almost passed away, people that have. You have to push through all this. And there's moments, and here's another thing to tell the audience, Juanita. It's very important, and I'm guilty of this because I've always been the one coaching. It's very important to let people know what's going on. I've had to recently share with people as good as I am. Yes. And those close people around, my best friend, Judy, I love her to pieces. She's like, what's going on? And I had to open up. So a lot of times people won't open up. Kids won't open up. People that have already been doing really well, they're scared. But all of us leaders around the world, we've all been through stuff. And I never forget Minnie Diebel talking to Editions, Deanna, I need to know what's going on. True story. So make sure you're sharing what's happening with you. Yes. Don't keep it in. Because a lot of us are working from home. A lot of us, it's weird for me because I am working from home way more than I like to. But it's just where my world shifted, closing my company down, not knowing there's going to be a pandemic. But again, failing forward, we of course know, John C. Maxwell, and all these quotes, I just keep in my brain. And I want to make it clear too, I work with the LGBTQ community. You can look it up later. Most people know what that is. And that's very important to understand. And that's because that's a whole other world and industry. And a lot of people don't realize that they run 20% of this country. Really? And people go,
really stats.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. And a lot of people don't realize that. And I'm connected to that industry also. And they need help because they're getting bullied and picked on a whole different way because of the new genre, the new gender. That's a whole other story. But anyway, so all those quotes, I kind of looking at one right now with Ms. Diebel, we're going to run the diamond together. And the other thing too is have a mantra. So I'll say I'm a kick butt, strong, powerful boss lady entrepreneur, businesswoman. Yes, I am. And I'll say it 3 times. And then I have behind me, my elevate, my life. And then underneath it says, because of reality, life is an adventure. And that's what it is. Reality is life is an adventure.
Absolutely.
What adventure you want to go on?
Yeah. I commented on a post from Austin J. Haynes. I think it was yesterday or the day before, where I wrote, sometimes it's time for us to realize that it's time for a new adventure. I love adventure. So yes, all in, absolutely, yes. Life is an adventure. It's really what we make of it. Yeah.
Well, and the other quote to end with is the bottom line. I heard this in my other company, my network marketing company, with the founder on stage going, get comfortable getting uncomfortable. I'll never forget hearing that.
Yeah.
Get comfortable getting uncomfortable.
Yes. Make it a point to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, and trust me, I have been uncomfortable for the last year or so.
Same here. It's a challenge.
But I want to thank you again, Juanita, for you do, Mrs. Kapp, because what you're doing for your meticulous, mentorship and leadership and getting out there for empowering the friends that you're working with your podcast and, what you're doing on our Connectors Leadership Academy. That's how you and I connected. So the audience needs to know, it doesn't matter what country we're in, we got to figure it out because everybody's coming around now and social media is just where the platform is now. Facebook, Instagram. I'm going to start doing TikTok. Look out. I've been told about doing TikTok. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll figure that out. But at the end of the day, I've made tons of money. I've lost tons of money and it's all good. I'm in a new place in my life. But at the end of the day, money doesn't buy happiness. I said it earlier. It buys options. I've been fortunate to have some amazing things in my life. I'm going in a new direction, but it's kept me humble. But at the end of the day, you've got to change methods of operations. You've got to tell yourself, you've got to make some changes. Otherwise, life is not going to work. It isn't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, our time together has flown by so quickly. I want to ask you 2 final questions. It was so lovely spending time with you. I mean, we can just talk for hours, but I do know that you have a schedule. So I just want to ask 2 final questions. What's next for you? And do you have any final words of wisdom for the audience to leave them with?
Absolutely. What's next for me is to sincerely keep empowering with myself to elevate self-defense. That's huge for me because getting on platforms allows me to do that. I want to do a 10X talk. They keep reaching out to me to do a TEDx talk, 10X, wow. TEDx talk. And I've got different companies reaching out to me. I'm only one person now. But I'm going to figure it all out. Everything's figure outable. And again, I leave it, we've kind of talked about it. I leave words of wisdom to open up, to learn from other people. Right.
Wonderful.
I've been fortunate for a lot of years that everything was right there. And then I just ran it in my academy and that can get people uncomfortable. And it did for me because I was so used to having the audience there and I was able to network and do what I needed to do. But I'm very grateful for network marketing. Network marketing, and that's regularly, but network marketing is a personal growth plan with a compensation plan attached to it.
Yeah.
And I'll say that again. Yeah, it's a personal growth plan with a compensation plan attached to it. And I can tell you numerous leaders that were nothing and then drove to this. And now I'm being coached by them right here.
Yes.
Okay. With my elevate self-defense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you for elevating us. I honor you for everything that you do and that you are. And you're just such a blessing to us. And I look forward to collaborating with you further. Thank you to the Meticulous Moments audience for joining us. I know you found value in ShihanDeannaEBivins' testimony this evening and her sharing of her knowledge and experience. So thank you, Shihan Deanna. We really appreciate you.
Absolutely. You're welcome, Mrs. Kapp. Thank you for what you do. And I'm excited to get back to you later. For the audience, love you all. Love always wins. Elevate your love.
Absolutely. And with that, we leave you for the next session. Thank you so much. We're going to make Shihan Deanna's Contact details available after this edit and this session, and then please reach out to her, network with her. There are so many opportunities out there, and let's cheer her on as she changes and transforms and elevates society. Until the next session.
Got it. Thank you, Juanita.
Oes. Thank you.